This could be. All right, we're live. Welcome to Monday Night Restorative. I was already restoring as I almost, well, I was late for class. I fell asleep on the couch and Kirsten forgot as well. And then next thing I know, it's 7:06 and I'm still sleeping. So we're here, we're ready to go. Thanks for holding up for me, everyone. We're gonna dive right into legs up the wall. You'll need a cushion, something underneath your pelvis if you like. You need all the normal stuff, blocks and straps, and off we go here. Okay. Okay, that's better. Oh yeah, as always, you'll hear me talk about putting these little pads underneath the pelvis. It's just a nice way to support your posture a bit better. A little bit of padding as well for the pelvis. Up we go. Oh. So let's just get into legs up the wall here. And one of the things I love to do with legs up the wall is to envision and imagine my legs are like big giant telephone poles. And that my pelvis is almost like earth or, the ground. And I'm going to think of my pelvis as the ground, but also the muddy ground. It's a rainy day and the weight of these telephone poles, it's almost as like they're just sinking into the mud. They're heavy. We're just letting gravity do the work here. And just kind of feeling, really letting yourself feel. The legs are like telephone poles, they're heavy, sinking into mud. Feel what you can feel. Just connecting to your breath. Just feel that rising and falling sensation of your breath. We know the belly rises and falls, but also we talk a lot about the rib cage and how the rib cage is actually meant to expand and release. Just as the belly rises and falls, so does the rib cage expand with an inhale, release with an exhale. Nice work. Okay. We're going to move into some very subtle yet powerful hip work. And I really like to use this movement when things get tight, when I can feel some limitation at a really big day, kind of like today. I like to do that ankle crosses over the shin. And then we're just working on that kind of sliding that ankle down to the knee. Or sliding the one foot we've crossed over down to the knee. What I'd like to do is really be aware of the pelvis here. You're gonna slide it up and down and just start to notice when you go down, when you feel your lower back start to press into the floor more, that's where I'd love for you to stop. We just want to go, lower back doesn't press into the floor. And then if having the ankle crossed over the shin is a bit much, you can do the same movement as you slide your foot down the wall. All right. I'm just going to float up and down another few times here. Just to kind of get the movement, notice what's happening, what you can feel. Just pure movement of the hip socket. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop. I'm going to slide it down and just stop to the point where I can feel like I'm still nice and level through my pelvis. My lower back hasn't flattened into the floor anymore. And then I'm just going to work on this little small rotation internally and externally. Now I'm just rotating the hip. You'll see me doing this rotation piece. My pelvis, I'm really aware of my pelvis on the floor. My lower back here, I really want to just keep this movement really pure in the hip. Easy breath. Nice work. I'm going to take that foot all the way back up, and then you're just going to switch to the other side, switch legs. Slide the ankle down towards the knee. I really just love to explore. What can I feel here? Where do I lose my free range? Where does it start to tighten up, or where does that lower back start to flatten on the floor again? We can really think of this movement as actively going into pigeon pose. So this is the same movement the hip would have to do in order to get into pigeon pose. Except this time we've got a different relationship to gravity. Just working on getting there and coming back. So how can we move that hip from straight to into flexion? Where do we get to? What can we feel? Same thing as last side. We're going to pick a spot. We feel really supported through the pelvis still. Lower back's easy. And we're just going to work on that really subtle rotation. Easy breathing. Easy breathing. And as always, we're trying to think about that quality. How the hip moves. Is it a little sticky? Is it smooth? Can we just smoothen it right out? All right, let's take that left leg up. We're gonna take the legs wide now, and I want to use, depending on what kind of wall surface you're on, like if someone was on like a brick, this wouldn't work, or like a really, or maybe you need some socks on, but I just want to work on, we're gonna do a bit of holding and staying, but I also want to just work on some active sliding. Now I've got a nice smooth wall, and my feet seem to slide pretty well on it. It might not be the case for you. You gotta grab a quick pair of socks somewhere, or you can just skip this completely if it's just not working. So I'm just working on getting a little bit of continual movement now. Drawing my legs wide, bringing them back in. Easy breathing. And if the sliding just isn't working with the wall you've got, you can just hold into a comfortable position and breathe. We're going to be there right away after a few more movements here. I'm trying to get my hips, if you are doing this, trying to get your hips to coordinate with each other. It's kind of fun. You can feel a little inner hip work, which is what I was intending to happen. All right, we're gonna hold and stay. Comfortable place, wide. Bring your awareness back to your breath, and then also as you feel into your breathing, that rising and falling, I want you to also just be aware of the stretch sensation. If it starts to get uncomfortable over time, you got to catch that and just bring it in a little bit. You don't want that strain to build up. Just a nice, comfortable, sustainable stretch. Easy breath. Easy, easy breath. Slow your breath right on down. Nice. We're gonna bend the knees comfortably. Bring the hips in a little bit if you need. So now we got a little knee bend going on. And I'm just checking in here. Now that I've bent the knees, we're kind of in this upside down horse rider's pose. And now that we've got this position, like what is the lower back done? Is it holding any just a little bit of effort? Or did it engage or tense up a little bit? If it did, send your breath down to your lower back. See if you can relax there. And see if you can bring your feet into a different position. Your lower back doesn't get involved. There we go. So the trick is to find the position and notice again, can you let go of any extra effort or holding that might be around the lower back or the pelvis or the breath? Okay, now we just let that all go. Come right back into your breathing. Easy breath. Stay with your breath. We're going to slowly bring the legs in just a little bit. We're going to take a small twist on each side. We'll use our wall, just like we normally do with this restorative twist. I want to have my feet connected to the wall. I'm going to roll, walk my legs over, my pelvis will roll. And you might be able to let that leg, bottom leg, come down to the floor, but I really just try to pick a place that you can just hold in for 5, 6, maybe 7 breaths or so. Same thing, we want to make sure we're not holding or bracing through our lower back or torso. So real soft breath here. Okay, let's go to the other side. The last twist before we change up the position here. Kind of let my bottom leg find a little bit of support with the wall. Want this leg kind of come into the twist a bit more. I'm just going to hold and stay. Feel your breath move. Nice work. Come all the way back. I'm gonna come into a little bit of a wall sit position. So knees are bent, feet are together. What we're gonna do now is a fun little exercise where we're pressing our feet into the wall. Now, I want you just to press a few times and notice if this is happening. If when you press, can you feel your like head and shoulders slightly going backwards? Or do you feel your belly pooching or popping, or your pelvis lifting or rolling? So any of those things that you potentially could feel, what we're going to try to do is quiet that down. So again, it could be the head or shoulders shifting back, belly pooching up or down, or the pelvis tilting or tucking. Okay. I want to see if we can press into the wall without any of that happening. And then notice what's different when you quiet any of those potential compensations down. When you press and you keep that quiet, just feel the different relationship with your legs. How your back of your hips might start to do some different stuff. Yeah, just notice. Try to breathe easy. Relax when you need to relax. Okay, let it all go. Bring your legs up straight and do a little rotation again. A little rotation through the hips, give your legs a little hug. Let's roll on over tabletop. Tabletop, hands and knees. We've been laying on our back. We're gonna get the spine moving a little bit. We're gonna do a little cat-cow. I'm gonna play with just the tailbone here. I love starting that way because I find that when I can get my tailbone moving well, a lot changes in my relationship with my hips and my lower back. And so I'm just doing these little tilts and tucks. Yeah. I'm not really worrying about my head and my shoulders, the rest of my spine. There'll be a little bit in my lower back going on, but I'm just really trying to focus at the pelvis. Okay, we can start to let the rest of the spine come in now. I'm going to keep focusing at pelvis first. Then I'm going to let the rest of my spine kind of vertebrae by vertebrae slinky up in a sense. My head will do that dip blast to reverse out of it. So here we are. To reverse out of it, we're just going to lead with the tailbone again, start to tilt it up. Nice and easy. Lower belly, chest, and head. Tailbone again. And head rest. Pelvis first, nice and easy. Maybe start to speed it up a little bit. Try to keep it easy though. Nice. Okay, good job. We're gonna quiet all that down. We're gonna rise up, kneeling lunge. I'd love for you to grab a good cushion, a good pillow for underneath your knee, maybe a block and a blanket. I'm just gonna play with some kneeling hip work, which I just find is one of my favorite movements, personally. I'm gonna bring myself on a nice tall pad for my hip. That actually creates a little bit more space for the rest of my hips and pelvis to be in a position. Okay. And we were doing these movements on the wall. Oftentimes we do these kind of rotation. I actually want to do that here, because now we've got a bit of a balancing factor in play, just to see how our system responds when we lift our toes and pivot on the heel and just rotate from that hip. I've got my right leg in front of me. If you're opposite, that's fine. And just to see, can I maintain this connection of a nice kneeling leg, that pelvis is nice and neutral and level, and really can I isolate that hip and free, really ultimately free this hip up while maintaining a nice quiet rest of the body. Right? So it's not just hip work, the rest of the body is trying to figure out how to stay stable and upright, as well as relaxed breath, easy through the body, easy through the system. So the brain and the body are communicating here, trying to figure out, how can we do that? What does the breath have to do? This external, internal rotation. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it outwards, and I'm going to kind of walk the hip, the foot out a little bit. And we're just going to do a little that kind of side lunging now. I keep this movement. I'm not going for depth or big movement here. I really want to see, again, I want to see if I can have my pelvis stay nice and level, right? My two pelvis bones are doing like this. They're not tipping off or doing anything like that. They're really staying quite level in space as I go and kind of lunge off to that one side. Inner hips got to do some releasing. You might feel stretch happening through that inner hip, but really also that muscle also needs to release and contract back in. Release out. Come back in. Let's see my block. And we're just going to find a comfortable place to hold. Doesn't have to be deep. Hands going to come up into the back of the head or cupping the ear. So a little side bend over towards that leg. So notice I'm not doing like I'm not dropping my pelvis in. It's my pelvis is staying level. It's just actually side of my ribs lifting up. Side bend and breathe. That was my fingers, I apologize. I've got a bad habit of cracking my fingers. Today they feel extra tight. Easy breath, feel that expansion, release. Take them all the way out. Switch sides. So now, same thing, we're going to find the position, find your feeling of shoulders relaxed, pelvis is level. And if we lift those toes and pivot on the heel, you don't really even need to lift your toes. You could just kind of work on just rolling to the outside of your foot. If that helps, makes it easier. I'm going to keep the foot down. Can we isolate that rotation while we maintain some support and stability through the rest of the system? Nice. Well, I find this side to be a little more challenging for me. So that's fun to notice the difference. I feel like my kind of my support and balance has to work a bit more on this side. Interesting. Notice what you notice though for yourself. Great. And we're gonna hold over to that side. We're gonna walk those feet over, and same thing, little side lunge here. Working on this, some really gentle movements, being aware that this inner adducting hip line, these inner thighs and adductors, they need to release and let me go. So stretch sensation, if you're going, you're like, there is something tight. The thing with the stretch sensation is just plowing harder to stretch. It doesn't create better function. We want to think about moving in the way where we can feel like a releasing, and we can actually feel the muscle releasing. It's still stretch, but we're not hitting a wall and trying to go further. We're just trying to work that release and come back. That control, train the muscle group, release and come back. Easy breathing. Okay, hold and stay. A little hold. Now same thing, we're gonna lift up and start to side bend through that torso. Easy breath. Collarbone staying broad. Staying with that movement of breath, finding that easy side of movement. Okay, come all the way back. And down we come. Where we're going next is back onto our back. And we're going to roll up our yoga mat and use it as a spinal strip. If you've got one of those really thick mats, then you might not roll it as much as I do. Okay, so I'm gonna take this mat, start by rolling it really tight, as tight as we can. We're gonna get into some lovely shoulder work now. And so you'll see I've got this mat pretty rolled up tight. This is the diameter compared to my hand that I'm using. So you can see. So if you've got a thick one, you might just roll it halfway or a quarter way. Okay, then you're also going to need your yoga strap, possibly a thin blanket, possibly a bolster or big pillows. If you want to let your legs relax, I'll show you how. Okay. I'm gonna put this in the middle of my on the floor, and I'm laying down on it in a way where the butt end of it is in line with the center of my ribs. Now, to find center of your ribs, you take your hands, walk them into the center like so, and find the middle of your rib cage. That's where you want the butt end, and a good landmark for women is where the bra strap lies. Okay. Keep your cushions close by, your strap close by. And you can start to lay on it. And it really kind of creates this back bend experience. Okay. It's creating me, my pelvis is now lower. I've lifted up the middle of my rib cage. I'm in a little back bend. And then we're going to get into the shoulder work in a sec, but you can keep your knees up, or if you have a bolster or some big cushions, you can kind of let them come into like a butterfly position. You use that bolster for support. Okay. Or you can just keep your knees up. And then we're going to take our strap. We're going to kind of cross it over a bunch of ways so that we can pull it, kind of not have it hang down in our face. So just grab it like so. And what we're going to do here, a little bit of arms overhead. Now, I love this movement because we're in a back bend. And what I'm trying to do here is not have my ribs raise up or my back go into any more bending. So I actually just want my shoulders to do the movement. So think of the main joint, how the shoulder joint is just moving it. So the elbows don't bend, ribs don't flare. You're able to stay breathing. And just exploring the range of movement. Lots to feel here, so go slow. Let your mind just kind of take a back seat. We don't have to think our way to feeling. We want to just let ourselves notice what we can feel, and just keep feeling what you can feel. Keep feeling what you can feel. You can really explore the whole range that you have. You bring those arms all the way down towards the pelvis, and you can make that kind of half circle a bit bigger. But we'll really start to build some awareness around what's going on in your shoulders. What have you done over the last couple days? What have you not done over the last couple days? Just kind of being curious on how life plays into our body. Our body is an expression of our life and how we feel in it. Our body stores a lot of our experience in life. Right? So bring that curiosity into things. There are a couple more. Okay, you're going to hold your strap up at the top. Now we're going to isolate our shoulder blades. So we're going to reach up to the ceiling, elbows stay straight. We just going straight up. And as you go up and down, feel along the yoga mat, feel along on the back of your shoulder blade and start to notice and feel that those blades actually are what driving the movements. You kind of feel how the blades can reach away from the spine, and they can come back down to the spine. This movement is all about freeing up our shoulder blades, getting them moving again. And this real slow. Trying to smoothen out any stickiness you might feel. It's very common to feel some like jerky, sticky kind of quality to it, so you can smoothen that out. Okay. Now go back into arms overhead. Let your shoulder blades relax and release down, and then just go back into arms overhead and notice what's different. Did you go further? Did it feel different in the movement? Notice what you notice. Maybe nothing, that's fine. Totally fine here to notice if you don't feel anything different. But there might be something there. Arms back over your head again. Okay. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take our strap away. We're going to go into string pull. This time, though, I want to do string pull with our elbows pointed in. So normally we start wide. When we do this one, I want to right away, I want to go elbows in towards my legs. My arms are still at a kind of 90-degree or 45-degree angle, like I'm hugging a tree. And I'm just turning my elbows down, my wrist up. Okay, and then it's like you're still going to pull this imaginary string, like your arms open wide. Easy breathing here. And come back. Draw them wide. And then come back. Draw them wide and just kind of keep that movement going. Notice what you notice. Easy breath. Drawing them wide and coming in. It's just nice to feel what's going on at your shoulder. Maybe you feel some blade movement, maybe you don't. Just getting some nice movement through there. What I want to do now is kind of free play here. So now you have these arms, you can move them how you want. I'm going to play with some like extending and reaching through my arms, and my arms go straight, doing some kind of like some movements where I'm doing like kind of these snow angels with my wrists pulled back. But really, once you really know that this shoulder joint is a ball and socket joint, you can do anything that comes into your, creative way of moving. So you kind of get to turn your thinking brain off here. And not that you can just turn it off, it won't turn off, but you can just let it say, hey, brain, you don't have to do anything, but just let your right side of your brain, the creative side of your brain, just kind of move. And you can close your eyes here, just move and just feel what there is to feel in your shoulders and your arms and in your movement. Just kind of have fun with like interpretively moving your arms without a plan, without a template. All we're doing though is just moving in our pain-free range of movement. And it's really the only fundamental piece to just be sure that you're doing that. Besides that, just anything goes. You get the blades involved, you can all right, great job. We're gonna roll over to one side, take that spinal strap or that rolled up yoga mat off and away. And this part of the class, I just want to open up to you to do any movement that you want to do. You do a twist, you could flip over and do a downward dog, you could happy baby child's pose. We're just going to give ourselves a minute here because I want to kind of build off of that, just like kind of creating movement, however you want to create it. What does your body want to do? What does just some intuition of yourself want to go and do right now for movement? Just let yourself follow that. Yeah. Okay. Let's all settle in now for a good old-fashioned Shavasana here. Okay. Let's get ourselves real comfy on the floor. And let's just give ourselves as much support as we can, really. So those bolsters, blankets, whatever you can do for yourself. Please set yourself up super comfy. And all I want to invite you into is to, I say it often, but just have that level of curiosity in this Shavasana, where everything's just an observation of what you can feel and sense. Yeah. There's nowhere to get to. There's not a certain way to be relaxed. You're not trying to slip into a certain state. It's just, what do you feel? on a physical plane, body parts, breath, but also the innards of qualities. Like, what do you feel? Heavy, soft, relaxed. So let that unfold in this Shavasana. Let that unfold and just feel what there is to feel. Let yourself be quiet. Notice when the mind distracts and wants to get up and do stuff. Good job, brain. Thanks for that. Just kind of let yourself soak up what there is to feel. Have a wonderful Shavasana. Have a wonderful night and a wonderful sleep. Namaste.